All right. Hey, everybody. I just wanted to make a quick video of how to submit your assets once you have them textured. The checklist includes exporting your textures, creating an Artella folder, creating your Arnold material, making sure that your file paths are pathed correctly, and uploading the textured asset and the zipped texture folder. I'm going to do some timecode links in the description if you need to jump around. So, first, how to export. You guys are already familiar with this. Go to File, Export your textures. Now we're using Arnold, so you want to make sure you go up to the Arnold 5. And if you're utilizing UDIMs, you want to make sure that you use the Arnold 5 UDIM export. Make sure that they're exporting in TIFFs at 16 bits. I also want to encourage everyone to change your file textures to be 2K. We're just going to stick at 2K just to keep the size of this project at a manageable level for it. So you can go up to 2K. If you know that your object is not going to need this level of detail, you can go lower, but I would say max out at 2048. Now that you've exported your textures somewhere locally, just temporarily, you can go to your asset in Artella, go to the texture folder, and then create a folder named after the asset. This is going to be where where Maya points to for your texture files. This is where the texture files actually live. But it's an issue of like if you're going to try to upload those through Artella, just the interface doesn't really uploading and downloading just doesn't really work that well for that many giant files. So although the texture files will live here, in order to transport them quicker and easier, we're going to zip them. We're going to put them into a compress them into a zip file, and upload that at the end of this. So first, go ahead and create that folder, and then in that folder, go ahead to where you have it locally exported, and click and drag just one of the files, maybe the base color one. I'm just going to put that in there. Now what you'll see is that actually creates the folder in the Artella folder for Wheelbot with the texture Wheelbot final base color 1. So now I at least I have this folder that I can drag and drop everything else into instead of having to interface through the Artella page. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. On the left I have my Artella folder, and on the right I have my local folder. So I'm going to just copy the rest of these other ones over here. All right, now that those textures are in the right folder, let's go ahead and open up our model inside of Maya. Okay, so I'm going to select my model and go right click, assign new material. We're going to be using the AI standard surface. So poke this up. I'm going to call this wheel bot underscore mat. So you'll want to change weight to 1, color to reference, our Artella folders location. So I'm going to go to organization Artella and then navigate to that assets texture folder. Okay, so I'm looking for the color map. So there's my base color. I'm going to go ahead and open. Since this model is utilizing UDIMs, I'm going to go to the UV tile mode and go to UDIM. And now I can navigate back to the material. Go to metalness and plug this in. Again, a file. Let's go ahead and find metalness. Okay. Since this is utilizing UDIMs, go ahead and turn that on. And for this, you want to change the color space to raw. And also under color balance, make sure that alpha is luminance is checked on. All right, that looks good. Let's go ahead and navigate back. Go to specular roughness and plug in our roughness map, doing the same thing that we did with the metalness. Changing UDIMs on, changing color space to raw, and making sure that alpha is luminous is checked on. If you ever get in the situation where color space is grayed out and you can't change it, you can go into your settings and preferences and color management, make sure that enable color management is checked on. Okay, navigating back to our material. I believe that there is emissive qualities of this character, so for both weight and color, I'm going to plug in emissive. And then the last thing is our normal map, which if you pop down the geometry tab, you can go to bump mapping, and for bump mapping, we're going to choose a file, and then we're going to go ahead and let's plug in the file first, and then we got to change some settings afterwards. So here's my normal. Go ahead and do that. Make sure that color space is raw. And I believe by default, alpha zoom is checked on. You want to turn that off for normal. And also make sure the UDIMs are checked on. Now, coming back over to the bump tab, we need to change this to tangent space normals. And under Arnold, uncheck flip RNG channel. All right, that should be, my material should be made. If you want to test really quick, you can go ahead and open up Arnold and do a quick little render test, which I'll go ahead and do. I'm going to open up the Arnold render view. Make sure that I also create a sky dome light just so I can see. If I go to run render, run IPR, this should kick on. And it looks like a success. Cool. So now that I know that all my textures are attached and this is going to work well in Maya, one of the last things you want to do is make sure that you double check your file paths. So I'm going to run back to this material attribute, which if you lose it, you can always right click material attributes. All right, so now we have our material made. One of the things we need to do before we start packing everything up is make sure our file paths are looking good. So I'm going to run to color and just take a quick little look at this, and it looks like it is pointing towards my local machine, which is an issue because that's going to disconnect all the textures when anyone else tries to load it. So make sure you go to Windows, General Editors, File Path Editor. If I come in here, I can select this whole thing and go to Repath Files. I can grab the file path off of that color map I was looking at and paste it in here. As you can tell, this file path is just pointing towards the folder where all the textures are, which is WieldBot, so I can delete everything after WieldBot. And this is just going to be the string that it replaces this path with, which currently it says Austin Broder. I'm going to switch that up. So everything before underscore all art, here's underscore art, I'm going to delete everything before that and replace it with this string. $, uppercase art underscore local underscore root. Make sure you check on repath currently resolved files too, because it currently thinks that it's resolved, but it's not. So go ahead and repath. And if I come back here and check, let's go to color. If I check my file path, it fixed that issue of pointing locally. Now it has this variable path, and if I'll double check my metalness, just to double check and make sure it looks good. Okay, cool. So now my file paths are all good, and this asset is ready to be submitted. So now I just need to make sure that I submit it correctly. Go ahead and I like to just save as, go to the desktop, and save, because that allows me to strike those student versions if I need to. So let's go ahead and do that. If you need to strike your student version, I just bring the Maya file into a text editor and delete licensed student, this one line right here. Delete, done, save. And now I'll drag this into here and that will create a new version. So the model attached to the textures is up. Now I just need to make sure that my textures are uploaded properly. And in order to do that, we're not uploading each individual texture. What I'm going to do is grab this WieldBot folder and compress it into a zip and upload that. This way, as artists need to download textures, they can just click download wieldbot.zip, and that's just the one folder, the one file, and it makes it a lot easier to interface with. So just drag that zip up into this folder, and you're good to go. And that's it. It's a little bit convoluted, but I hope you guys, once you start doing it, you'll hopefully get used to it, and I hope that this really helps clarify that process. And thank you so much for doing this, because it eases the workload of the lighting team, and will make this actually a lot easier to render and get looking good and show off your work. So thank you so much, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions.